Hi, and welcome to another Career Life class. Today, we will be learning more about finding a job. And in this lesson, we will be looking at how you answer a key interview question and what follow-up is needed after an interview. You have developed a resume, a cover letter, you've got a social insurance number, and you've applied for a job, and you've landed an interview. This can all be quite overwhelming, but the interview is often the part where people become most fearful. And just to know that you have prepared for it will help to grow your confidence for this. So that's what this series of lessons is about. Before we jump into the question we're going to focus on today and the follow-up, let's just look at some deadly interview mistakes so that you can avoid these errors. So arriving late for the interview, you do not want to do that. Looking sloppy and inappropriately dressed. And in a previous video, we've looked at how you should dress for an interview. Slouching in your seat, not maintaining good eye contact with the interviewer. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be, bug-eyed staring at them the whole time, but you do need to be making some eye contact with them throughout the interview. Bragging about how great you are, but giving no examples or evidence. It's just like you don't want to give that list of skills without saying how you've used them, how you are using them, or how you can benefit the company with them. A candidate that doesn't project enthusiasm or appear to want the job. They come in with a "what are you going to do for me" attitude. You want to be more projecting what you can do for them. Answering most questions with a short yes or no. Now, you don't want to ramble on and on and on, but you want to expand on your answers so that they get to know you and understand that you're capable of relationship building and talking to people. And oversharing, while you don't want to be too brief in your answers, you don't need to give your whole life story either. You want to focus on the question, your skills and accomplishments that you can bring to that question and that company. Bad mouthing your former boss and the company. So maybe you worked for someone else before and you said, well, I left that job because my boss was a jerk and they did this, they did that. That's not going to land you a new job. So you're going to imagine that you either have an interview for an entry-level job or that you are looking at a job that you're actually interested in growing with into the company. So maybe something you could see yourself working at for the next few summers or as an apprentice, or even if you're going into the workplace after high school, you're trying to get a job that can grow into something bigger. So you can imagine any scenario for this. It doesn't matter because the techniques for the job interview are the same. So the fear factor question we're going to look at today is at the end of an interview. It's very common, very likely that you will be asked, do you have any questions for us? The answer to this is always yes. You are expected to ask a few good questions before wrapping up the interview. Keep in mind, the interview isn't just about making your potential employer like you. It's also about finding out if the company and you would be a good fit together. So by asking genuine questions, you'll show the employer that you're interested and that you care about the job. So a few tips about this. So you want to ask questions that require more than a simple yes or no, but also take care to avoid asking questions that are too broad to answer concisely. You want to ask no more than 3 questions, making sure that you have more than that prepared so that you can choose the most appropriate ones according to how the conversation is going. Sometimes all of your questions that you had planned might have been answered during the interview, so you can talk about what you plan to ask and that you already have been given the answers. So this can be useful to clarify any misunderstandings or anything that may have been unclear. A key to this is actually knowing a bit about the company ahead of time. So if it's a restaurant, you might be prepared to, name a favorite menu item or two. If it's a store, you can visit the store ahead of time and talk about something you noticed and then ask a follow-up question. You can always visit the website and say, well, on your website, when I was researching, I saw this. Can you tell me more about it? Being prepared in this way will really help you. That's the third tip, and that's to know about the company. In your assignment today, you'll be asked to give a few examples of questions that you might ask. And when they ask you, do you have any questions for us? So here are a few examples. And if you find any of them interesting, you might want to take note of them. What is your favorite thing about working for this company? Asking about your interviewer's personal experience will provide you with additional insight into the company's culture. And it also allows you to build a rapport with your interviewer and an inside view on what it's like to work there. Another good question is, what qualities make for a successful employer? This question shows the interviewer that you're determined to succeed and that you want to be sure you'll be a good fit for the company. This one you would only ask if you don't already know the answer to it. So can you tell me about the day-to-day responsibilities of this job? This question can clarify different aspects of the role, especially if it's a multifaceted sort of position, or if you're working as part of a team. You'll hopefully gain a better understanding of the job responsibilities to help you decide if it's the right job for you. You'll also get a better idea of the specific skills and strengths that are required. You can ask, what do you think is the most challenging aspect of this job? This shows that you're fully aware that the role won't be without its challenges and gives you an idea of what to expect. They interview and they ask you these fabulous questions, but sometimes maybe they're missing a piece of information that will help them make their decision. So you can ask, is there anything else I can provide to help you with your decision? This is a nice way to make sure that there's no uncertainty about whether or not you're a good candidate. And it also provides the assurance that you've done everything you can to prove your suitability for the job. So those are a few examples. Now, there's one thing you should always end with. Your very last question when they say, do you have any questions for us? Always end with, what is your timeline and what are the next steps? Make sure to ask this question so you'll know what to expect in the next steps of the process. You can also take the opportunity to address any time-sensitive issues they should know about, such as if you're considering other offers, or if you need to figure out arrangements for transportation or adjusting to a new schedule. It can help also to reduce your stress while you're waiting to find out the results of the interview. For example, if you know that you will hear back in 2 weeks, or maybe they'll tell you if you haven't heard back in 3 days, you don't have the job, just helps you to alleviate your stress and understand the next steps. It also affirms your interest in the job. So after the interview, following up is a must. In today's job market, you can't afford to skip this simple yet effective gesture. In fact, it's been proven that over 90% of hiring managers appreciate some type of following up after an interview. So you want to follow up within 24 hours of the interview. This will keep you in the interviewer's mind and keep the momentum going. You want to express gratitude and start with thanking the interviewer for the time. You want to tell them something that impressed you from the interview. You want to mention how you could contribute to the job. And you want to affirm your interest in the job and tell them you look forward to hearing the results of the interview. And this is usually done in an email. It could also be a card dropped off at the company, but an email is the usual format for this. So here's an example of an email you could send after the interview. Thank you for your time today. I enjoyed talking about the possibility of working with your company in the position of whatever it was you applied for. I was impressed or happy to learn something you learned about the company. I'm certain my skills or accomplishments or ability to do something will help your organization or store or business. I'm excited about the possibility of working with you and look forward to hearing the results of the interview. Of course, you'll sign that off with a regards, yours truly, sincerely, and put your name at the end. So that's an example of a follow-up email that you would send the same day, if not, then early the next day, within 24 hours of your interview. So your assignment this week is to open your portfolio in My Blueprint, and you're going to choose Add Box and make a journal box. You'll give it the title, Final Questions and Thank You. And in the description, you're going to add 2 items. The first one is 3 questions you could ask in an interview when they ask you, do you have any questions for us? And then you're going to write a sample thank you email text that you could send after the interview using the example from this video. If you have time after this, you can do mock interview questions with your peers and make sure that you've practiced all the things we've been working on over this series of lessons. That's it for this week. We'll see you next time. Have a great week.